I was sitting there in amazement. Both Laura and Katie are relatively new to the industry compared to many of us, and they are extremely talented, insightful professionals in the travel industry, young women in the travel industry who are going to springboard this industry further. Katie mentioned she's part of the Ladders program, GBTA Ladders program. It is a phenomenal committee or organization within GBTA that acts as a mentorship program where there's a mentor, an alumni advisor, and then a team of mentees, young professionals in the industry who work on a project together and then present that project to a panel of judges, and they're able to, then showcase their talents. Laura's been in the program for a long time. Kristen Lynch, I believe, who is on our marketing team, our director of marketing, has been in the program for a while. Taylor Larney, walking around with the microphone. Amanda Gogich, who is one of our clients at First Solar, just did an amazing job. I don't think I left anybody out. Anybody else in the room on the Ladders program? I encourage you, if you're new and you're young to the industry, I encourage you to look at it and look at it as an option. I was a mentor this year and just had a phenomenal experience seeing all this young, new talent coming into the industry. So an ironic dichotomy, though, to those two speaking, very young, talented women. We're going to bring up two very old gentlemen, still as intelligent and able to share. But let's bring up our Vice President of Technologies and Product Sales, George Gadabush, and our CIO, Ivan Amana.
What we offer is this kind of connection, these relationships we build, our cultures, your cultures, melding those together, providing the solutions that were so greatly highlighted here. But that said, technology is extremely important as well. We want to use technology to enhance the whole process for you all, for the travelers, to create efficiencies, to create savings. And I'm excited to be up here with Ivan because I've known him for many years. There you go. We've been associated for many years in the industry, and I was very excited when he came over to our organization because he brings a lot of experience, as Mike mentioned, a lot of years of experience, and really has done a great job with his team of creating solutions. So I'm going to put you in the spotlight today.
I see it right here.
Great spotlight. I have a list of questions here. We're going to cover some of these things, and I have not primed Ivan on these questions, but I have faith in him that he'll have all the answers for us. So the first thing we'll talk about is World Mobile. Now those of you who were here with us in Baltimore in the spring, we talked about it then. At that time it was in the alpha testing phase. We've gone through the beta testing phase. Now we're getting ready for production release. So I want to ask Ivan a few questions about that and kind of lead into what we're doing in the mobile first strategy. So why mobile first? What's so important about that? Why have we embraced that?
Well, why mobile first? Because one, it's talked about, like Katie and Festive Road, the traveler experience, right? The one device that you're going to have with you when you're traveling is going to be your phone, right? So that's why we think it's so important, mobile first, related to how you're going to use that device. And so, whether it's going to be checking in or looking at the disruption that has occurred a little bit here a couple months ago. So that's why we go with mobile first and why we invested in this technology and rolling out World Mobile.
Good. So how easy is it for users to begin utilizing World Mobile?
Well, it's fairly straightforward, but we do have multi-factor authentication, and that's because security, compliance, as talking to my banking friends, is a big part of our life today. But, that's for protecting your data. Why do we have multi-factor authentication? So there is a registration process, but after that it's fairly straightforward, and then, then you're into the product.
All right, so what features are most essential when clients begin utilizing it?
Well, the number one thing is itinerary management, right? We have an API integration into World Mobile as to how we're moving that information. So you want to know where you're going, what time you're going. So that's obviously a key aspect. The other aspect is being reminded when to check in, having the ability to check in. Flight notification, is your flight delayed? So those are all key aspects related to on our mobile product. The other important thing is the ability to share your itinerary, share your location, the flight status. So I'm flying home tonight at, I think, roughly 7 o'clock. I'm a very bad traveler. As an example, when I was...
Check your mobile app, it'll tell you.
I know. Well, the good thing is I did check my mobile app, and I found out I was flying home Saturday night. By the way, this ends tonight. So I had to call my team and say, by the way, yes, I know I'm supposed to check my itinerary. Look at Liz. Is I have to check, but I did make a mistake and said, this is fine. So they modified it, looked on my phone, got my update this morning, was able to look on the phone, check in, and I'm all checked in, ready to go now. So that's really where you think is about, hey, what are the key aspects related to the tool? There's a lot of other features related to the tool that we'll actually demonstrate and talk to, but I mean, that's the basics. Where am I going? How am I getting there? Is there going to be any disruption to it? And am I going to be told, right? And the one thing I do is I always have, actually I have 2 mobile phones. That's a different conversation, but I always have it by me.
All right, so once a traveler arrives at their destination, how can they use the app?
Well, really, and that's really one other aspect related to the phone is, so if I'm going to a destination like Delaware, my first time in Delaware, I've never been here, I have the ability to go into the guide, which will show me and tell me about attractions, restaurants, cafes, and have the ability to look on a map and say, hey, this is where I want to go for dinner, or I want to make a reservation, or also has the functionality of augmented reality. I don't know if you've ever used augmented reality, but it's actually really nice. So I just set my phone up, go around here, and it'll tell me a restaurant's over here, it's this far away, or there's a cafe. So it has all these other features. It will tell you about that information. It will tell you about that restaurant. Beyond that, it has this functionality which is referred to as Trip Genius. So what that is that if I'm going to a destination like DC and I want to look at museums, maybe I want to go to parks, I can actually set up an itinerary as to that information that I want to look at besides my meetings with George and Mike and other people. So, and then I can modify that as to, okay, I want to have a very busy schedule or a slight schedule. So that's also all part of the app. So that's where I feel there's relevance associated to when you get to that destination. Another example where I feel there's relevance is that today I did rent a car, but often I'll use an Uber or Lyft. Is I go into my mobile phone, I go to, here's my airport I'm going to, I select my ride share, and it logs you right into that app, and takes you in there. So there's deep integration into Uber and Lyft in the app also.
Good. Good to highlight the functionalities. Can you kind of describe what the typical user experience would be?
So I think when it comes to the typical user experience is honestly it's about, hey, how am I going to leverage, where am I going, right? And having that ability to look at that information, having the ability to, do I need to modify something? So we have a deep link into Concur. Now we just rolled out a deep link into Dean. We have profile integration into both products. So therefore, you have a single point of interface as to how you want to leverage your mobile device. And so I think those are some key aspects related to how you're going to leverage that.
I can't help but notice that you have a wire connected to your phone. There's a chance you can show us.
I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
This is where the tech part comes in.
So, I'll see if you could go ahead and switch it. This is where a live demo comes in play.
It's always fun.
It's not a black screen, honestly. It really does actually have something to it. So let me try one more time here. It was nice. It did work this morning.
Can you just pass the phone around to everybody in the room?
So I'm going to go ahead and demo it like this. So can you see this? And I can check in right here. It should be really visible to you. It works really well.
Tech assistance here, we'll see how it goes.
This is why we have technology.
We really did test this earlier today.
It was working earlier. Oh, you must have called our help desk. That's how we solve everything in IT. You know?
If only we had a CIO in the house to help out.
Well, if only we had some technology people up here, George.
Well, we'll skip that part then.
All right, well, maybe just kind of talk to it. Is really what it comes into this is like, when I was talking about the itinerary, sharing information. Literally, this is what I did this morning. Got into my phone, looked up, you know, hey, this is what's going on. I checked in, was able to validate it, I was checked in. So I was able to say, hey, you know what? I got to text my wife and let her know what time I'm coming home. I'm not very good about that at times. I said, hey, this is the time I'm supposed to get home. So really, on this management, if I wanted to, I could actually, you know, share that information, share that status with her, just by touch of the button. The other aspect is, the good news, I checked for flight notification. My flight's on time, so no worries there. And so it really is very straightforward, as I feel, as to how you use the tool and get into the tool. I can look at my past trips. I got a future trip to Tampa in November. November's around the corner. And so I'm able to check that out. So really what it comes down to is having the ability at your fingertips to, as I would say, as a guide as you're going through travel. But also, talking about service, important, is I can contact my team. If I want to contact my travel team, it's right there. The phone number's there. Email, if I want to email, however I want to contact them. So that's right there. And the other ability is to get into information about, you know, hey, what's besides destination? Do I need a visa? What are the other links that we have? All the tools that we've integrated into the mobile phone. As you can tell, it looks really good.
Really good for the show.
On my lifetime. But these are screenshots. This is what we're talking about, the destination. But, you know, one of the things that I think we're going to talk about a little bit later, George, is World VC. And the integration of what that solution is. So what I also can do is actually bring up my virtual card on my mobile phone, see the front and back of it, and then also have the ability to move it into my digital wallet, which we were going to demonstrate for you today.
Really cool.
Really cool.
So one question I'm sure people are wondering right now, are you able to book directly from the mobile app? And how are you about that?
You are. We have a deep link integration into Concurrent Deem. So literally, whether it's an expense report or rebooking on Deem, I have that ability to link directly in, and that brings that app in there. So if I need to modify, or if you're like me who doesn't check your itinerary at a hotel, because I went to the UK a week or two ago, went out there with meeting some friends, do a little bit, go visit our park with Clarity. I booked my hotel for Thursday and Friday, but I was still in London for Saturday, so I didn't have a hotel when I was in London. But I was able to go in to the tool and book immediately there. So that's all on the device.
Now, it's pretty obvious that if Ivan did not have World Mobile, there's no telling where he would end up, or which days he'd be there, paying for home. So
Well,
there's your testimonial right there.
George, I think you talked to my wife.
Maybe she doesn't want you home today. Anyway, so most importantly, when can we see that in production? When will travelers be able to use that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we talked about, we were in the alpha phase of the last symposium. One of the things that we wanted to do was actually bring in a level playing field related to Concurrent Deem. So we built in an API integration into Deem and also a deep link into Deem. So for our Deem and Concur customers, it's the same experience. We're rolling out in production, Jim, November, and I believe November is next week. And so we're, and I don't know where Natalie is, but Natalie's really excited. There she is we have a goal to at least 40% of our clients to be introduced to World Mobile in production mode by end of the year. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is we'll be introducing some new functionality come Q4, early Q1. I work in tech, so I can't give you a real date, but we are going to be also doing some updates. And the one thing is, Katie was talking about that, API integrations, the ability to bring data and solutions together is really what that platform, our mobile platform, is focused on. And that is, it's a living product. This is not a version 1.0 that's going to stay. This is, we will continue to evolve the product and bring in content services that make sense. And so, as hopefully all of you, the next time we get together, will have World Mobile on your phone, leveraging it to get to your destination. So we're happy to be in production mode, George.
Awesome, great. So you mentioned World VC. I think we'll segue into that now, so you can explain that a bit to us.
So yeah, World VC is with our partner US Bank, is really we created our own virtual card solution. And part of this was inspired, or I wouldn't say inspired, but expedited by the pandemic, right? One of the things that you probably experienced is no one wanted to touch you during the pandemic, right? And so you had to tap to pay. I just came back, as I mentioned, from the UK. I think 30% of the locations that I went to over there didn't even accept money. You had to pay through your phone. Here, the US wasn't quite caught up to speed, but COVID really emphasized, hey, tap to pay. I'm sure if you've gone to like Target or any store like that, you now have the ability to tap to pay. Also, the same aspect related to lodging is it really stepped up the technology, the acceptance of tap to pay. So that's one of the things that, why did we come up with World VC? So okay, so now we've got the ability of the digital wallet, we've got tap to pay. And the other thing is, I talked a little bit about this yesterday, is, the great resignation, trying to hire people, is that when you would check into a hotel on a solution, on a previous virtual card solution, that clerk was going to determine whether you had a successful experience or not. And I think Barb's team could mention is that we actually sent people to hotels to make sure they understood the right way to process a virtual card, right? And so we wanted to address that friction, right? And how do you do that? And the whole purpose of this was, how do I make a virtual card, bring all the benefits of a virtual card, credit card reconciliation, security, all the reasons people make choices for a virtual card, but have it act and like a credit card. And that gave us the ability, with the acceptance of tap to pay and the ability to move it into the wallet, as to why we came up with World VC. And the other thing we did with this is that we wanted to move the friction of the aspect having to change a banking relationship. So it's our card, and so you don't have to change a banking relationship. And so we're looking for, that was where the essence of the solution came from. And brainstorming with Tori from US Bank, as who you're going to meet in a little bit. But we're excited about the product because the one thing that we were talking about earlier, Festive Road mentioned, is how do you move the friction of that experience, the traveler experience, right? The last thing you want is someone to be leveraging a solution that's good from a tech strategy perspective, but they can't check into a hotel, right? And I'm sure no one's ever had this situation where they had to call our operations and get assistance. So this is where we're excited about the product. We remove friction related to you don't have to change your banking relationship. And the whole concept is it walks, talks, and acts like plastic, but it's a virtual card. The other aspect that I'll mention here is it's a multi-use virtual card. It's not a single-use virtual card. And that was one of the other friction points to the process of virtual cards. So we're pretty excited about the product, as you can tell.
So what's the typical audience? Who needs a virtual card?
I think everybody, but that's just me. But the obvious answer to that, George, is anybody who's on a product right now where they're feeling a lot of friction or potential pain related to the solution. You know, that's low-hanging fruit as to where we feel you will remove some of that friction and get all the benefits related to that. The other aspect is we feel this growing further, but you know, one of the things is that managing a card product and getting plastic out there, you know, that's a whole other friction point that you can remove from this. So we feel there's a lot of opportunity for solutions that are out there today, but also what's coming up.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob. Next thing we'll talk about is a world analytics platform. So Katie said that content was king. I guess I can't really deny that, but I always like to say that data is king, so maybe it's the emperor or the queen or something. Either it's really, really important. Bringing that data together, everything that's transacted through world travel, we must be able to report that in an accurate and an actionable fashion. And we've done a good job of that. We heard some good testimonials already, but we're not resting on our laurels, right? So,
No, we're always looking to move forward, and definitely one of the things we're doing with our reporting platform is modernization of that platform. But what I feel is important related to the data, whether you're the term looking backwards or if you're going to do some modeling looking forward, is it should tell a story, right? You can have a throw up of numbers and have it be an eye chart, but what is it trying to tell you? What is that actionable data point? And that's really what we focused on these dashboards that we're rolling out, is that, hey, you know, here's the first storyboards that we're going to roll out to you. Make it easy to start at the very top of that storyboard, but always have the ability to get down to the individual, which I would call actionable item. You know, a classic example is that individual, I think you mentioned it, is only booking 1 day prior, not, even though your policy is a 7-day advance, is, you know, where is that getting, how is that affecting your overall numbers? And often it can be 1 or 2 people that if you can change behavior, it really has a dramatic impact to your program. And so that's what it's about. You know, what's the story? What are we trying to tell? But how do you get down to that actionable data point?
good. Now there is going to be a session later this afternoon to dive into these deeper, so I'm just giving you a couple of little screenshots here.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea of what sort of design aspects we're utilizing. Now,
It-
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so these are some examples, but we're rolling out production. As you can see, is we took a deep dive at this. I looked at various versions of my director of business intelligence. Probably not, you know, he's like, oh, I got to meet with Ivan again about dashboards. Because version 1 and version 2, we looked at a lot of different stuff. We got a lot of feedback. Worked with the account management team as to, you know, number 1, good data. What are we saying? But how do you make it easy to read and easy to action? And that's what we really focused on these dashboards. And hopefully when you see them, you agree.
And Jim wanted me to ask you when these will be in production.
Jim, you know, I think I said first quarter 2025, but actually it's going to be November. Next week.
So the other area that has come up quite a bit in our discussions the last couple of days, in Katie's and some of the presentations yesterday, is around sustainability. So I'm sure everyone wants to know what we're doing in that area. So if we
Can you tell, I've never talked about sustainability, George.
I'll take some back then.
So really what we did is we chose to partner with Luma, and they're, from a error metric, their best practice is to how to measure carbon. We're making the change in the beginning of 2023 because we didn't want to have different metrics, you know, in the middle of the year of our reporting. Currently we use DEFRA, and there's different versions of DEFRA, there's ICO, there's a lot of different metrics. That's one of the, I think Festive Road mentioned this, when we're talking about sustainability, that measurement is a little bit all over the road. But what we're doing here is, look, we selected a partner, API integration for Luma, getting that into mobile, getting that into our reporting, getting that into our itineraries. But the other aspect, they have widgets that are tied into the booking tool. So we wanted to, as best as possible, present consistent information about that carbon footprint across our ecosystem. And that's why we selected them, and we're rolling that out beginning of the year. So we'll end with our DEFRA metrics that we have in 2022. Beginning of 23, we start with LUMO, and a little more exact metrics. And just to give you an example as to how this goes is that, you know, you've got a bigger carbon footprint when you're flying first class than when you're flying coach, right? And you're in that middle seat and you've got like two inches for you. But you know, related to this is, you know, I had some interesting conversations with clients about, okay, everybody's taking a different approach, but the key thing is, whatever that business decision is that the metrics are, you know, across the board consistent. And that's what we're really focused on.
Excellent. So we covered a lot of things. I hope we piqued a lot of interest. So I'm sure there's some questions in the crowd here. Anybody?
I think there's a question over you. All right. George, I'll be right back. You got this, right?
Feel free to stop in.
I have a couple questions. The first on the World Mobile, can you deep link to Confirma?
We do not have a deep link into Confirm.
You don't, okay. Can you put policies or other documents that we would want to put on there, such as like car rental accident procedures for our folks?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we put on there, the links, is your travel policy, and that's actually a great idea. That's something that will come, because if you have a question, you know, I go back to an old example, is that, hey, what is my car policy? Because, hey, I just had to rent a car. Who is my preferred supplier related to car? All that documentation can be loaded to that at the fingertips of your travelers.
Great. And then when does the current World Hub sunset?
That's a great question, because I've had one or two conversations about that. We think all the functionality that World Hub has, World Mobile will have, but we're going to have one-on-one conversations with our clients that have World Hub and walk through what we feel the gain is with World Mobile versus World Hub. And you know, we won't sunset the product until we have those conversations and make sure everyone's comfortable, but it is on the roadmap related to get to one product, which would be World Hub.
Okay, so you're going to help clients too with communicating to their travelers, okay, you had an app years ago that was World Mobile, you removed it, we went to World Hub, now you're going to bring this back.
That is correct.
Okay, okay.
That's called progress.
That is true, but really what we wanted to do, you know, even as you talk about that journey, is making sure we're bringing the best tool for the travelers and making sure we have the ability to integrate. And we really felt World Mobile was that answer, you know. And so, but there is an implementation process, so it's just not, hey, here's the app, download it. And Natalie, who's sitting over there, is really excited about this, is the whole implementation process of making sure and having that communication with you. There's an actual strategy as to the messaging, how to get the information. And the other important thing related to this is that, hey, a lot of people have mobile apps, right? What I care about, does that app become a habit, right? Because then if I can prove to you that World Mobile is a habit, then I know that we, you know, at least we're kind of on target associated to what we're delivering for services. And that's the big aspect related to World Mobile, is actually bringing the metrics together and proving, hey, you know, this is a habit, because every time someone books a trip, they go into World Mobile. And those are the type of metrics we'll be pulling too.
Okay, great. I have a couple questions on the World BC too.
Sure.
Is the card used to book the reservation, or do you have to use a ghost card?
Thank you. So what's different about this, number one, it's a multi-use card. We go get the card, we put it in the traveler's profile. So like when I say it acts like plastic, so when it's used to shop and book. So there's no changing of that card. And the other aspect, now it's in your digital wallet. You load it into your wallet one time. You go to the hotel, you tap for, you know, hey, ancillaries, you know, if you go dining. So, and that's really what we feel is kind of a game changer, because part of the friction with virtual card is that you would use a card to book, right? You go get your virtual card, and then that's what you know, it was different from search. You go to the hotel, that desk clerk sees 2 credit cards, right? And they go to the first card that was used, which was, related to the shop, and they go, it's not gonna work. No, I have a virtual card.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to address. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, on that, how are hotels managing, two payments that a person has to put down a different card for incidentals?
So that's the key, is that you don't have to put a different card for incidentals. And this is one of the things, this is what's important with tap to pay. Is so when they ask and when you're checking in, is that, hey, incidentals? Yeah, here's my card. Number one, it's integrated into the itineraries into the mobile app. So you can show the front and back. But not only that, if you load it into the digital wallet, iOS or Android, you just tap for incidentals. So
And then does it collect the folio?
And it will collect the folio. Now, part of the folio, they have a lot of discussions about this. It's not necessarily our product per se, it's related to the merchant and the type of merchant that hotel / chain or property set up. But if what's referred to as level 3 data, if that's available, we will integrate that at the portfolio level on reporting.
Okay, and then for travelers who are unable or not willing to use a mobile feature, how would the virtual card work? Like, we have a lot of travelers who don't have company issued phones, they don't have company issued email addresses. So right now our virtual card program, it's faxed, it's emailed, or it goes through Confirma. So you were talking about like the friction point being that person at the front desk. Will they still have that card? Will they still receive that card? If a person's
Yeah, we will.
unwilling
So
to use it
we
as
still are
mobile?
following the practices that we are faxing 72, 48, and 24 hours out, right? So we still are following that process. So that person at the front desk will have the picture of the card front and back, just in a traditional virtual card program. So we are still doing that. But we hope and feel that, that you'll see that it also empowers that traveler if they have the phone.
Right, okay, thanks. Sorry.
Good questions. Behind you.
So Ivan, you just triggered something for me. You said that it can be loaded in a traveler profile. And as I think about virtual cards and what we would want to use them for, I think mostly about like candidate travel for interviews and things like that, mostly unprofiled travelers for us. So could you explain if there's a way around that?
Well, thank you for that lead-in, because we're going to talk a little bit with Tori about this. But actually, that's where we see, the virtual card. Honestly, we know traditional virtual cards and lodging, that's how virtual cards came out. But really, as we're going to leverage this, is for anything. So when you think about candidate travel, the ability to have we'll have an interface where you're going to input that information, creates a profile, puts their card in there, and you set up that card for a set amount of time. But you know what? Now, not only we're going to use it for air, we're going to use it for hotel, we're going to use it for dining, we're going to use it for rideshare. So, from beginning to end for that candidate, you've got that one card, simple reconciliation. They can load it into their wallet. When they're done, it's gone. And so it has all the security features of a virtual card. So not only candidate travel, but also looking at athletics, because it's a very good business case for athletics too.
We have one back here.
Another question back here.
Can you add a hyperlink to your preferred ground transportation provider in World Mobile?
That is a great question. I'm sure we can have discussions related to that. Because one of the things that we can do, and this is, this term API that's being used, but that's what it brings to the table, is the ability to easily integrate different solutions and put it in one place. World Mobile.
Ivan, so some of our folks, and I know you said that you can select merchants for the virtual card, but I have some folks, for example, my meeting planning teams, who go and purchase crazy things or put crazy deposits, not just for travel. So do you have the ability to set that per traveler? In other words, the majority of our company might be hotels, rental cars, those kinds of things.
Well, and that's a great question. And with our partner, U.S. Bank, and with our integration, the technology we have, we can actually dynamically change the merchant category code, which is often referred to as the MCC. So we can set traveler A, you're going to use it for lodging. I can set traveler B, air hotel, and then candidate, it's air hotel, dining, and rideshare.
Excellent. My other question is, for the augmented reality piece, we have as part of our ID&E program an employee-derived travel guide that shares cultural experiences from across the country, mostly from our field sales force. And so would it be possible to put some additional curated content in the augmented reality piece so that when folks are searching, and this could maybe something we have to discuss, Rob,
Right.
later, but I think it would be a great way to add that curated content from an ID&E perspective, and it would make the folks that worked really hard on that event, or on that series, super happy.
Yeah, we'd be happy to have that conversation around that, but I think just curated experiences with links of what we can bring into the tool, at the very simple aspect is having a document related to there. But happy to have a conversation with augmented reality.
Hey, great questions. So before I relinquish the mic, there's one more thing I want to say today. Apparently someone's trying to keep it on the down low, but today is Mr. Farrell's birthday.
Happy birthday, Mike.
He looks damn good for 65.
Is that why this
doesn't he?
voice on?
If I'm 65, I'm retired.
I want a quick happy birthday too. Just one verse. Everybody sing it.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. I only want one thing for my birthday. A Phillies win. Absolutely. So, Ivan, you're going to stay up here. George, you're going to go off the stage.